So, it's been a little while since I've done a debunk video, and since we're talking about console gaming as well as exclusives as well as fanboys on the channel, I figured now would be a perfect time to take a look at this video from Reforge Gaming, titled The Nintendo Switch Exclusives Matter. Also, phenomenal like to dislike ratio, and also phenomenal view count for a guy with almost triple my subscribers. Although considering this guy treats his audience like complete shit, I'm not surprised that his views are so low. Not only is he a PlayStation fanboy as well as a shill for basically any corporation he can lay his eyes on. However, he also treats his YouTube channel and his audience like a video game corporation. Either you pay him money or you get the fuck out and make way for someone who will pay him money. I mean, seriously, take a look at the clips I'm about to show you now and say that this guy isn't a piece of shit.
I have zero desire to interact with the public or allow the public into my Discord. Fuck them. That's my attitude. Like, if they're watching my channel enough to want to be in my Discord, they have a membership. Guaranteed. Everybody else can piss off. I have absolutely zero interest in interacting with people who are not a member on the YouTube channel. You're worried about people that don't matter. They don't matter. If they're not a member on YouTube, they don't matter. They don't.
We have to stop saying that.
Why? We've mushroomed.
Because they're potential members, they matter.
At the very least, this guy's editor or business partner or whoever the fuck he is, at the very least, this guy understands the concept of respecting your consumers. Something that Nintendo doesn't understand very much with the Nintendo Switch 2. But hey, Reforge is gonna simp for them anyways. So let's begin.
If there is one thing the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct proves, it's that exclusives matter.
If exclusives matter in 2025, then why are Xbox and PlayStation bringing all of their exclusive games to more platforms? If exclusives matter, then why are Nintendo the outlier here? Because the truth of the situation is that in 2025, only 2 of the major gaming platforms have exclusives. The first one being Nintendo, and the second one being the PC, because it's the only one of the 4 to be an open marketplace.
Or maybe I should say exclusives still matter. There's been a lot of dialogue recently, and I've definitely pushed back on it. There are people that claim that exclusive games are anti-consumer. Essentially the idea being that you shouldn't have to buy another device. You should just be able to get all the games on wherever you chose to spend your money.
Well, yeah, that is anti-consumer, because people bought the video game hardware to play video games, and if you were to then look at someone and say, well, hold on, you wanted to play Spider-Man, but wait, this piece of hardware you bought, oh, Spider-Man is actually being held hostage on another platform that you didn't buy, so I guess you're shit out of luck. Like, look me in the eyes and unironically convince me that that is not anti-consumer. Because who benefits from games being exclusive to one platform? Because the answer is no one. The gamers don't benefit from this, because obviously gamers outside of the restricted platform is not getting the games, they're not getting to experience it, and obviously the corporation isn't benefiting from it because they're losing out on potential sales that they would get from releasing the game to other platforms. But then again, this is the same guy that bought 2 PS5 Pros, so I guess I'll shut up and let him continue, I guess.
Essentially making you entitled to every game that any developer makes or any studio decides to invest in.
Have you ever heard of the concept of the customer is always right? Because from a business standpoint, it makes total sense to bring games to as many customers as possible to earn the most amount of money. Using me as an example, I was never going to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 because it offers me nothing that my current hardware doesn't already offer me. However, as a middle ground, what Nintendo could do is bring their exclusives to my platform, and by doing so, they would have a chance of earning my money by meeting me halfway, which is something they wouldn't do if they keep it exclusive to a platform I have no interest in buying. And this is something that Sony has taken notice of. They're fully aware at this point that PC gamers are not going to buy the PlayStation 5, so instead Sony is bringing games to the PC and earning money that way. It's an effective business strategy, it's more pro-consumer than holding games hostage to a certain platform, and everyone wins in this scenario. I don't know how you couldn't possibly understand this.
There's also been claims that, well, the industry is going to move away from exclusives. Like, this is where the industry's going. We're going to see more and more games just put in more places. we're not going to see exclusives being as important as they once were.
Because that's literally what's happening. PlayStation and Xbox are bringing their games to multiple platforms. Like, Nintendo is the outlier here. Console exclusives just don't have the hype that they used to have, and as a result, Nintendo is the only console where this still remains a somewhat effective strategy. However, this comes at a cost of the Nintendo Switch's specs being significantly weaker than its competition, and as a result, third-party games are by far gonna play the worst on the Nintendo hardware.
And I think the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct just blows these narratives completely out of the water.
So because the Switch 2 Direct proved that exclusives are somewhat effective for Nintendo, that means that PlayStation and Xbox are going to go back to holding all their games hostage to a platform and miss out on all the potential money they can make from bringing games to the PC. Because I really don't think that's going to happen.
And I've continued to say when these discussions come up that you don't want to break up this happy marriage. A lot of the games we saw in the Direct that are exclusive to the Switch 2, they look really impressive.
I mean, speak for yourself. Mario Kart World literally just looks like a Forza Horizon game with Mario characters. The new Metroid game just looks like a shit version of Doom Eternal. And I genuinely don't get the hype behind Donkey Kong Bonanza. Like, seriously, it's just another Donkey Kong game, but in 3D. And you had to wait, like, what, 20, 30 years to get that? Like, I genuinely don't get the hype for these games, and it comes across as Nintendo guys being very fucking desperate for some W's. And all of these games are being playable on hardware that is inferior to consoles that have existed for 5 years now. I really don't see what's impressive about any of this.
For a $450 portable device, you can dock it, obviously, and get better performance, but the performance we're seeing, like the Metroid game, as an example, you can get 1080-60 when you're just out and about playing the game natively, and that's coming from a studio who built the game for Nintendo.
1080p 60 is not something you should praise in 2025. Like, that's something you should expect. The fact that you're praising what I would consider to be the bare minimum standard for 2025 gaming is honestly kind of insane. But also, just because something is designed for a certain console, that doesn't mean it's automatically guaranteed to give you good specs. How quickly we forget Tears of the Kingdom and Hyrule Warriors, games that struggled to achieve 30 FPS on the original Switch. And that's not even taking into account the myriad of PlayStation exclusives that struggle to hit 30 FPS, even on the PS5 and the PS5 Pro. Like, this is an argument that you hear console dudes make all the time, the idea that, oh, gaming consoles are made for gaming and PCs aren't. Yeah, and a paper shredder is made for making paper illegible, but I feel like a tactical nuclear strike is gonna make paper more illegible, even if that wasn't its specific purpose.
Look at Mario Kart. Mario Kart World looks really, really impressive.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe looked more impressive. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds looked more impressive. Like, I genuinely don't see the hype for this game.
There's lighting, there's reflections, there's higher detail of textures, and it looks like it's running at a very good frame rate. And
oh, lighting, textures, and high frame rates, because that's something that exclusive games can only achieve, right? Like, third-party games, it's impossible for them to achieve lighting and textures and frame rates. Like, do you have any idea how any of this works?
You're not going to get that from a studio if you bust up that happy marriage between studios who create games specifically for a device.
Well, that's funny because there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of multi-platform games that would disagree with you there. There's also many PC ports of PlayStation games that would disagree with you there, especially since games like Spider-Man Remastered looks fucking gorgeous on the PC and plays without any issues at all. There's also the fact that emulators allow you to play exclusive games at a better quality than the original hardware. Like, you're basically admitting that you've never played a third-party game in your entire life.
And Nintendo made it clear that they want to use exclusives to sell this thing.
Yes, and that's a business strategy that's been fucking stupid for a long time now. A new piece of hardware is coming out. Well, is there gonna be new features? Is there gonna be a massive boost in technology? Is there gonna be actual good gimmicks behind the platform? No, we're just gonna hold a couple of games hostage. So if you want to play these really good games, you have to buy the hardware. What's that? 30 FPS caps? Oh, what's that? You have to pay to play your games online? Yeah, well, none of that matters because exclusive games, you can't mod them. No, you're severely limited to the games you can play, but look at this handful of games that you can't get anywhere else. Wink, wink. Give us your money, please. no, we're not going to improve backwards compatibility or let you play previous Nintendo games, but it doesn't matter because look at the few new games you'll have with this platform that's more expensive than ever.
There were 9 exclusives in the video. So there was an hour-long direct, and 9 of the videos are Nintendo exclusives.
What's that? You want to play the thousands and thousands of older Nintendo games on the brand new piece of Nintendo hardware? Nope, fuck you. We're not going to allow that, but we will allow you to play 9 brand new games that you have no idea whether you're going to like or not.
There was Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby Air Riders, The Dusk Bloods, Dragon Drive. Then there were all the games that are getting Switch 2 editions.
Yeah, I can't wait to spend an additional $10 to get better graphics on a new gaming platform that I already bought.
Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom.
Wasn't Tears of the Kingdom playable on PC before it was playable on the Switch? Like, I'm fairly certain that was a thing that happened.
Mario Party Jamboree, and Metroid 4.
Literally every single one of those games can be emulated on PC, and given enough time, the Switch games will also be able to be emulated on PC. And again, if Nintendo refuses to sell these games to you on the platform that you own, well, you can't really be surprised when people decide to pirate those games.
5 of those you can only get on the Switch 2.
For now. Like, these games are coming to emulators one way or another.
I'm going to talk about Mario Kart in a moment. It's pretty significant what they're doing, and that was a prediction that I got right.
The new Mario Kart is literally just a Mario Kart game plus a load of extra shit that is nothing to do with Mario Kart.
4 of those exclusives are Switch 2 editions with new features with the Joy-Cons, higher resolution, higher frame rate. If that's how many exclusives you're going to put in your Direct, it's very clear that they're not going away.
Well, some of those exclusives, those being Tears of the Kingdom, were playable on the PC before they were playable on the Nintendo hardware, and the rest of them we can just emulate.
And they actually really matter when you're launching a new device.
If a new device is severely limited in terms of its hardware, it's very restrictive in terms of its game library, it forces you to pay to play your games online, and game prices are more expensive than ever, in addition to very poor backwards compatibility and no mods, and the threat of your console being bricked if you sneeze without the company's permission, and the only thing it gives you in return is a couple of games that you can't immediately get on any other platform, I really don't think it's a good deal.
They also showed a ton of third party. This is a continued complaint whenever there is a state of play or a showcase or a direct when there's not enough first party games.
Having more third party games on the Switch 2 is obviously a good thing, but when the hardware is severely limited compared to the PS5, the Series X, and most gaming PCs, is it really that big of a flex at all? Like, congratulations, you can play third-party games on the Switch 2 at a worse quality than 5-year-old hardware. Like, how exactly is that a selling point for a new device?
They had roughly 50 games that were either shown or announced during this Nintendo Switch 2 Direct.
And will those games play at a better quality and better resolution than hardware that already exists? Do those games include very iconic Nintendo games from the past, such as Twilight Princess and Super Mario Galaxy 2? Because methinks that's not the case.
And only 9 of them were exclusives. Now, this should make it clear in the future that if you tune in for a showcase, a state of play, or a Nintendo Direct, there's going to be a lot of third party. That's just pretty much how the industry works.
So there's a lot of third-party games in the industry, but also exclusives matter. Third-party games are inevitable, even for console-specific events, such as the PlayStation State of Play or the Xbox Showcase. Third-party games are inevitable, but also exclusives matter.
But with 9 exclusives, and over half of those being exclusive just to the Switch 2 itself, it's very clear that exclusives still matter. They're not going away.
Well, they already have gone away for PlayStation and Xbox. PC games would come to the consoles if they were open markets and not very restrictive, and Nintendo exclusives people don't really care about because we can just emulate them eventually. So I really do think that exclusives don't matter anymore.
When the market leader uses them to sell their brand's new console.
You mean when corporate overlords are lazy and instead of improving the hardware and making it very appealing, they instead just hold a couple of games hostage hostage to that platform to convince you to buy the game.
And they use a franchise like Mario Kart, which the previous Mario Kart sold close to like 70 million copies.
Because it was bundled with the Switch and the Switch OLED, meaning that when you bought the console, you were also buying the game. Like, we saw this exact same thing with Wii Sports. It was bundled with the original Wii, and as a result, it had ludicrous sales, and it still is in the top 10 best-selling games of all time. However, what you're not going to talk about here is that that is a luxury that not all exclusives will have access to.
And they said, hey, if you want to play the next Mario Kart, you can only get it on the Switch too.
Friendly reminder, how is this not anti-consumer again?
That's significant. That means they see the power and the potency, not just of their titles, but of making something exclusive so that you have to buy their new hardware in order to play the game.
No, it just means that they are assholes for making you buy a console that you might not necessarily give a fuck about, just to play a handful of games that you're not guaranteed to like.
And as I said on the outset, that's a happy marriage. Like, you're getting performance levels and new graphical fidelity.
That's worse than the available competition that has existed for 5 years in relation to the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles.
And lots of more karts on the actual racetrack.
What's that? There are more karts in Mario Kart World, therefore you need to spend like what, over $400 on a new console just to play it? Instead of paying $60 or whatever to play it on your own platform that you already own and that you're happy with.
Those are things that probably happened because the studio was just making the game for the Switch 2.
If that's the case, then why is literally everything that you just mentioned possible for third-party games? Why are PC ports of multi-platform games generally better than the console versions, even though the consoles were specifically made for gaming and the PCs aren't? Why are PlayStation exclusives releasing with 30 FPS caps, even though the PlayStation hardware is capable of 60 to 120 FPS?
Not making it for all these other platforms, not trying to make it work for all these other configurations. That benefits you, the consumer.
Love how you conveniently don't mention games becoming more expensive on the Switch 2. Like, you're gonna explain how that benefits consumers? But also, what you are describing benefits only one of the 4 main gaming platforms, so does it really benefit us at all if it benefits such a small minority of gamers? Gamers that aren't even guaranteed to like Mario Kart World?
It can't be anti-consumer if an exclusive benefits the game and the way that it runs and the way that it looks.
It can be anti-consumer, and it indeed is anti-consumer, for the games to be more expensive than ever, and you're still being railroaded into buying a piece of hardware you don't give a fuck about just to play a couple of games that you're not guaranteed to like. Like, congratulations, the Switch 2 has better hardware than the Switch 1, but that doesn't give you the right to just blindly suck Nintendo's dick dry.
And then, obviously, it's made for that device, so it sort of pairs with it, it dovetails. That benefits you as a consumer, so it can't be anti-consumer.
Something being made for a specific device literally doesn't benefit the customer in the slightest, because the consumer had no say in the matter when discussing how the game would be made and for what platforms they would be made for. No matter which way you spin this, Nintendo gamers are being fucked over because the game prices are going up and up and up, and literally every other gamer is being fucked up because the games are being held hostage to a platform we don't want to pay for. How is that anything other than anti-consumer?
Also, not every consumer is the same. A lot of us are perfectly willing to buy a new device. Like, do I not count as a consumer? Like, I'm willing to buy a Switch 2.
And 2 PS5 Pros, we can't forget that.
I'm willing to buy Mario Kart on that Switch 2, and I'm happy that happy marriage between the devs and the manufacturer of the platform are working together.
Okay, and what about literally everyone else who is happy with their current platform and don't want to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 because it doesn't appeal to them? Are Nintendo now just gonna say, fuck you, I guess? You're not gonna have our games at all because you're not buying this plastic box you don't care about? Because that sounds like anti-consumer to me.
So it's not really anti-consumer, it's anti-people who don't want to spend more money.
So yes, it is anti-consumer. We don't want to spend unnecessary amounts of money on a platform we don't give a fuck about just to play a couple of games we're not guaranteed to like. Like, how are you not understanding this? But also, why are you trying to shame people for not wanting to spend more money? Like, shit is getting more and more expensive nowadays, and yeah, you can't blame people for wanting to save money wherever they can. And if people are interested in Nintendo games, or PlayStation games, or whatever the fuck, and those games come to their platform, and they can buy the games and hopefully enjoy them without having to spend like a couple of $100s on a plastic box they don't care for, then yeah, the customer is going to be very happy with that and all too happy to give the company money to play the game on their desired platform without having to buy another. Every customer is happy because the game is on multiple platforms, and the developers are happy because they have got more money.
You want the studios, you want the publishers and the developers, you want them to spend more money, because it's more costly to bring the game to more platforms.
Yes, I want the developers to go above and beyond to earn my money, because if they don't earn my money, then I'm not gonna be happy with their product, and that's assuming I even buy it to begin with. Like, this is literally how business works. How much of a corporate shill do you have to be to unironically look at people expecting better from corporations and spin it as if the consumer is in the wrong for that?
You want them to spend more money so that you can spend less. I don't think the relationship between you and the business is in the right frame of mind when you think that way.
The only relationship, quote unquote, between the customer and the developer is, are you offering me a product that I want to buy? If the answer is yes, then I will buy it. If the answer's no, then you can fuck yourself. I'm not gonna pay it more money than I have to. Because the bottom line is there is no relationship between you and the corporation. You're a number on a spreadsheet to them and nothing more.
The other idea is that, well, exclusives are going away. Like, this is where the industry's going. I don't think so.
Basically, all of the mainstream PlayStation and Xbox exclusives are no longer exclusives, so take your head out of Sony's ass once in a while, you might notice that.
Nintendo just walked out and kicked off their brand new generation console with 9 exclusives, and they're just getting started. We know there's more on the way. There will be a mainline Mario, a mainline Zelda.
Yes, this strategy is certainly working for Nintendo, however, all this really proves is Nintendo is the outlier here, because it's clearly not working for Sony and Microsoft. And with how expensive games are getting nowadays, in addition to the controversy surrounding the Switch 2, you really have to ask, how much longer is it going to be an effective strategy for Nintendo? But anyways, that's the end of the video. He basically just repeats himself from this point forward. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe to the channel and like the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.